Hello everyone, Yoshi the Warrior here. So a month ago, I did a live stream of Rev Says Desu and his proclamation on Twitter of Christ is King. Now, at that time, a few people, and including myself, were quite worried about this phrase, considering how this phrase has also been used in racist circles. But after some research, I think it's safe to say Rev is not dog whistling to a far right demographic in any way. Considering when he's talking about his faith on Twitter, it's not out of hate towards Jews, but genuine concern about being able to express his love about his faith. He has a strong stance against the hypocrisy of Gaza protesters, as well as those who are clearly left leaning in their calling out his quote unquote hypocrisy simply because he supports the existence of lolicon or some type of porn art, because clearly these people don't read the Bible or hope to faithfully interpret the Bible in his word, because that would mean they would have to acknowledge their sins directly and drop their sinful acts that they have grown to love. And if you want me to make a video on my opinion on how the Bible views porn, leave a comment below and give a video a like. There are some cases where he does get a bit bent out of shape when people make fun of Christ, but as a person who grew up in a Christian household, you don't have to express anger towards these people. Because one, it's pointless, and your anger fuels their anger and gives them pleasure that you're angry, because they see you as a hypocrite. And two, everyone will have to answer to God when their time comes, and everyone will have that time to come. Now, to address the main point of this video, there are a lot of people who still cannot, to this day, tell the difference between Christ is King in a religious giving glory to God sense versus Christ is King taking the Lord's name in vain for political agendas against the very people God favors, those who believe in him, while siding with those indirectly to destroy the very land those same people God also favors. So this video is designed to help spread some nuance to help us all see clearly of these two realities being blurred together. So let's start from the beginning. For most people, political phrases only mean one thing to them, the thing that it says. If you say Black Lives Matter, then surely your support shows you care about Black lives. If you say all lives matter, then surely your support shows you care about all lives. However, that's the trick of these political phrases, to only have you think on the surface of the matter, because the surface of the discussion is often riddled with behavioral reinforcements that help reinforce that initial mindset, the message. However, if you start to dig below the surface of what the movement wants you to think, you'll start to bump into some issues. If I say Black Lives Matter, does that mean I have to defend people who are black, who are definitely murderers, rapists, gangs, criminals of any sort, simply because the movement believes the system is out to hunt an innocent black man? How about all lives matter? Would you defend pedophiles, terrorists, neo-Nazis, or oligarchs simply because your movement decides to defend them? Even they have lives. It's easy to think you're well informed in today's politics, even I. However, the truth can easily be hidden under the care of a non-influential individual versus the influential collectivist that all of mainstream wants you to focus on with all your attention. Because of this lack of critical thinking and the inability to have self-reflection of oneself, this often leads to infighting. But the infighting is more than just instability within a movement. It is oftentimes the beginnings of a movement being hijacked by bad actors, hoping to seamlessly slip into the ranks without rocking the boat too much, in order to wear the mask of your movement's identity, slander the opposition as fakers or the label of evil, and steer those unaware of the transition of power away from an actual solution to perpetual grifting with no real solutions at all. Because the people on the surface of the movement only understand one thing: we cannot fight each other because that's what the enemy wants. And when you're in a space such as this, where no questions can be asked or offer the slightest suggestion that can lead the movement to a real solution to ending the problem, You may find yourself as the sole individual surrounded by collectivist people who think your solution is nothing more than a sabotage. That's what Christ as King is facing. And I'm sure a lot of you will say, but you're claiming others are fake too and putting labels on others, so how are you different? Again, if you're looking at the surface, you're right. But you're also wrong. This goes back to that old riddle of the two magic doors. Door 1 says, door 2 is the fake one, and I am the real door that leads to freedom. Door 2 says, no, door 1 is the fake door. I'm the real door that leads to your salvation. Which is the real door or Christian in this case? This is the part where most people end up siding with their enemies while fighting and slandering their allies. Because I often don't hear this story because it holds a lot of truth to what we're facing. You have to acknowledge that within the Christian space, that there are those who are Christian and those who are posing to be Christian. There are those who realize that they are sinners and hope to strive to become better people, and those who realize they can use the faith to excuse all their bad behaviors and continue doing those same bad behaviors. The Bible often warns us about these people. Matthew 7, beware of false prophets, which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves. Ye shall know them by their fruits. Meaning, beware those who only seek to destroy, but seek that opportunity through falsehoods of trying to save the meek. Pay attention to the fruits of their labor, and all will be revealed. Or Isaiah 29, the Lord said, these people come near to me with their mouth and honor me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. Their worship of me is made up of rules taught by men. But then the question remains, what are the rules of men these false prophets abide by? The answer is rooted in philosophy. There is a reason our schools stopped teaching philosophy because, well, if you knew, they wouldn't be able to sell you the idea that Hitler is based, or there's nothing wrong with a system that subsidizes brown people's livelihoods off the backs of white people. Turns out the only people who buy these ideas are the ones running around naked in red with pointed horns and red pitchforks. Shocker. But teachers are not the only false prophets we have. We even have pastors leading by man's gospel, Marxism, to usurper God's gospel, taking bits and pieces of God's word and rephrasing them in the interpretations of Marxism, or socialism, or National Socialism, or communism. These are man-made theologies masquerading as philosophical principles or economical principles that were constructed by men who believe they can build God's kingdom on earth, if not better, when our reward is in heaven. Who are these men, and how can we make sure that we're not hitting the wrong people only to seed them with hatred for the false prophets to swoop in and claim them? Well, let me show you two examples, and you tell me which is the false one and which one is leading by God.
Prophet Muhammad, your warlord, has no power here! And whose country is this? So you will not come here and dominate and walk and disrespect us in our churches, in our national monuments! You will respect the Irish people, or we will make you respect us! You will not disrespect us! You will not walk on our soil and disrespect our men and women! Our ancestors are watching over us! We are the fighting Irish! We are not! We are not racist! We love our country! And we don't care about what names you say! And we are not Islamophobe! Because phobies are being afraid! And do we look afraid? Here! Prophet Muhammad, your warlord, has no power here! This is a Christian country! Christ is king! Christ is king! Christ is king! Christ is king!
Is about the forces of evil versus the people of Jesus Christ. Christ is King! 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 Christ is King!
And it is so refreshing to hear his name in American politics.
Amen.
Politicians do this phony business for decades where they make these very vague and generic appeals to God. And that's nice, but I want to hear the name Jesus Christ. Because America is a Christian nation.
And the first clip is Victoria Bryan, an Irish Freedom Party candidate for Fingal East. And then the last clip is Nick Fuentes, conservative commentator of American politics. Both use the phrase, Christ is King, but the question remains who is the false prophet. When it comes to Victoria Bryan, their movement is heavily focused on the infiltration of immigration, but quite openly states they are here to replace the natives of Ireland. They stand on the fact that their movement is not based on racism or hate, and are more concerned that their government is betraying the people and taking the side of those who quite literally commit the most heinous crimes against them. Then there's Nick Fuentes, who often campaigns on the same talking points. However, if you dig deeper into him on Twitter or YouTube or any social media for that matter, you often find things like this.
Simple yes or no answer. Hitler, good guy, bad guy?
That's a top. Well, there are no good and bad guys. They're just people.
Well, that's not true, dude.
It is true.
I mean, so if you had to check one box.
I'm going to say I'm neutral on that. I'm abstaining from
There's
that
no
one.
neutral.
You're saying that Hitler was not a bad guy?
I think that, it's a
But then
world
you're
war.
questioning why people may not want you talking?
There's
I'm
a
giving
lot,
you a
well,
platform.
Look, if we're going to say Hitler bad, then I'm going to say Churchill bad, and I'm going to say Roosevelt bad, and I'm going to say they're all bad. But if we look at him as a product of his time in that moment, we have to judge him with those things in mind. That's all.
There is an occult element at the high levels of society, and specifically among the Jews. And more than anything, those people need to be, when we take power, they need to be given the death penalty. Straight up. They must be absolutely annihilated when we take power. This is God's country. This is Jesus' country. This is not the domain of atheists or devil worshippers or perfidious Jews. This is Christ's country.
I just fly in. I'm in my hotel. I'm getting ready to go to bed. I got the show in the morning, and I get a call from the leader. I get a call from Hitler. I get the call. The people get the call from the Jews. I get the call from Hitler. Sick. Could you imagine me saying that? Could you imagine me coming on the show and saying, so I was talking to my wife the other day. My wife? Oh, I just can't. And the whole wedding thing, oh, I can't do it, dude. I see these weddings, they're just humiliation rituals, you guys. I can't. It's so gay. I can't do it, man. So I don't know what I'm going to do. I got to move to another planet. I got to marry a Martian because this planet is cooked. Everybody knows who I am now. I try to proposition a girl. She's either going to want to kill me. She's going to be talking shit about me forever. I just wish I could marry myself, I just wish I could marry me, but I can't have kids with me, I just need to find the closest thing possible to me in girl form and marry that person. Kids love Hitler. They just do. You know it. I know it. But then we grow up and women and society tell us that's not funny. That's not cool. The coolest thing ever, they say that's not cool. Literally the coolest thing ever, and they all point to it and say, that's not cool. That's actually hateful.
There's
I'm giving you a platform.
Look, if we're going to say Hitler bad, then I'm going to say Churchill bad.
And if you type their names into the search bar on YouTube, you'll see more controversy around Nick than Victoria. Hell, go into the comments sections of the Irish movement on YouTube and go into the comments section threads of the Nick video. Both links will be in the description. And it's night and day of these two phrases being used. One focuses on the pride of its people, The other spends more time talking about how much they hate groups of people, or spreading conspiracies, or talking about the people with tiny hats, or going oy vey. And remember what I said earlier about false prophets. We already had many examples of people proclaiming to be symbols of God's might, and they show you exactly what they're up to after they consolidate power. Stalin, Fidel Castro, Pol Pot, Mao Zedong, and yes, even Hitler. And considering Hitler is such a huge inspiration of Nick's life, more than God, it's safe to say who truly is a false prophet, when all you have to do is go back in time and realize Hitler did the same thing.
Reck was a Christian. His opposition to the Nazis was less political than religious. He feared the Nazis meant to destroy Christianity. He was right. They were busy inventing their own religion, not one that protected the weak, but one that admired strength.
I saw a Hitler Youth boy recently. He was in a classroom and suddenly he noticed a crucifix hanging behind the teacher's desk. And his face twisted in fury, and he ripped down this symbol, which hangs in every church in Germany, and he threw it to the ground with the cry, "Lie there, you dirty Jew."
But the Pope remains silent. Surely, in principle, Nazism and Catholicism are fundamentally opposed.
C'est deux planètes complètement différentes. Si vous lisez Mein Kampf, vous comprenez qu'il y a quand même peu de points communs avec l'Évangile.
Excluding their points in common with Hitler, the Catholic Church will find that. As early as the 1930s onwards, dozens of priests become Nazis. The Vatican will let it happen. The Church will even make a pact with the Führer by signing an international agreement.
Ces sermons au nom du Père, du Fils et du Saint-Esprit à Hitler, ce qui n'est pas tout à fait dans le droit canon romain. Et il avait aussi une autre phrase, c'était Adolf Hitler comme notre prophète Jésus-Christ, ce qui est un peu original.
As easy as it is to spot Nick and his circle, there are some that are not too easy to spot, who often hide their power levels as much as possible until the moment arises.
And I have I have what I would consider 100% faith and trust in my wife. Mm-hmm. But I told her, I told her these words exactly. You're going to get the fucking test, and if not, I'm out the door.
And the cherry on top here is that she had a baby out of wedlock. Meaning, if you do the math here from when she says she gave birth and when their wedding date is, her husband married her because she got pregnant. And that's why he made her take the paternity test to see if it was his child, because he doesn't trust her and would not have married her without one. Which is why later on, Rachel demanded that paternity tests be the norm so that she is not embarrassed or ashamed that her husband did not actually have 100% trust and faith in her. Dude is out here claiming he's the good Christian, but meanwhile Puffy here on his 12th cigarette is busy plastering OnlyFans girls' breasts on his thumbnails.
What happens is they hate themselves because they're incel losers, a lot their audience, and they see you and they're attracted to you, and then they can't help it because they want to see more, and they're actually secret simps, but they hate themselves for being simps, so then they subscribe to your OnlyFans and hate themselves for it, so then they go back on Fresh and Fit and watch women get bullied to kind of make themselves feel better. At least with that audience, that's what I noticed.
That's how that works. This is where I live. This is why I was scoring the internet for suitors for my daughter. Can you believe this? Pimping out her daughter. She wants her daughter to be a single baby mama like she was.
It helps to have a fundamental understanding of a lot of philosophers. But if that's too dry for you, just do a fucking background check on these people. The only thing preventing a lot of people from realizing they're surrounding themselves with evil people is because they don't have the balls to look up their heroes, quote unquote, outside their political echo chambers, because most of these people have built an environment where it is purely us versus them. And don't worry, I'm quite aware of Brittany Venti as well, considering she has the same hypocritical stance as Melanie Mack when it comes to porn. Again, background checks will save you a lot of time, pain, and money. Thanks for tuning in. Like the video if you like the video. Dislike the video if you dislike the video. Leave a comment. And I'll catch you guys later. Peace.